Hi guys, Deb here from Aussie Maille with another new chainmail weave to teach you this week. Guys, welcome along to our channel. If you've been here before, it's great to have you back. If you're a new visitor, welcome. I hope to see you here often. Alright, today I'm going to do what is basically a reshoot of one of our live videos. Unfortunately, we were experiencing some technical hiccups at the end of last year, and some of our live streams just didn't work the way we wanted to. So we're reshooting them as a part of our project videos. So today, the first one I'm going to be doing is our Sprite Chain. Alright guys, let's get into it. Here are some sample pieces of the Sprite Chain. Now, because this was developed for our Saturday Night Live sessions, I've got a few different samples and gauges which I don't normally show for project weaves. But I will list all of the ring sizes, the gauges and the ring counts in the description. So check that out if you want to get the sizes used. Today I'm going to just show you the larger one because it's easier to show on camera. And in this one we're using 14 gauge AWG, which is 1.6mm diameter wire. So this is in bright aluminium, and this one has a ring ID of 6.5. Now, to make up a bracelet that's approximately 20 centimeters or 8 inches in length, you're going to need 35 of these. You're also going to need in two colors, so I'm using bright aluminium and anodized aluminium, 16 gauge AWG rings, which is 1.2mm diameter wire, with a ring ID of 3/16 of an inch or 4.76mm ID. Now you're going to need 85 in the bright aluminium and approximately 68 in the anodized aluminium. Okay, and of course you're going to need some sort of clasp. I generally just use a lobster clasp, but whatever clasp that you like. And then I like to attach it with a slightly smaller ring. Okay, this is 16 gauge 3.5, but you can just use the 3/16 that you have on hand or any other small ring that you've got lying around. And of course you're going to need 2 pairs of smooth jawed pliers. Today, because I'm working in the thicker gauge, I'm going to be using our Lindstrom pliers. These are the oblique and the stubby flat nose pliers. So our first step today is to make up a simple chain, the length that you require your bracelet to be. And we're going to be making that out of our bright aluminium rings in both the 6.5mm and the 3/16. Okay, so to do that, just make up a simple chain. The first ring needs to be a large, so we need to start and finish with the large ring. And then we just go down the chain, adding one large ring, one small ring, one large ring, one small ring. Whichever way works best for you to make that chain up. And you need that to be the length that you require for the bracelet. Okay, so just go ahead and make that chain the length that you need, remembering to start and finish on your large ring. So in that case, my large ring is the 6.5mm, but that might be different for you if you're using one of the other gauge combinations. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish creating this chain, and I'll meet you back here to show you what our next step is going to be. So I've just decided to only do a small sample piece. I'm not going to go a whole length of a bracelet because I've already got plenty made up, but this will do for you guys. So you've gone for the whole length of your bracelet, whatever you need. And then the next step is I need you to count how many of these small BA rings that you used in your bracelet. Okay, so go down the chain and count how many of those you need. And then once you have that number, you need to close that same amount of large BA rings, your large color one rings. Okay, so if you've got 16, small rings in your weave, in your chain, sorry, then you'll need to come in and close 16 large rings. Okay, so if you just want to go ahead and whip up your large rings, and then I will show you the next steps that we need to do. All right, so once we've made up our chain, we've got our large rings closed, the same amount of small rings that we've got in our chain. We then take up an opened color 2 ring. So this is our 3/16 anodized aluminium ring in this case. And with this one, we're going to pick up one of our closed large rings and we're going to pop that onto our opened ring. Okay, and while we're still holding onto that, don't close it yet, pick up your chain and feed your anodized aluminium ring through that first small ring that's in your chain there. Okay, and then we're not closing it yet, don't close it up yet, we're not finished. What we want to do now is we want to, while we're holding on to the pliers and onto our ring here, we want to grab this closed ring that we put on and we want to bring this up and bring it over the top of our AA ring. I'll show you that again. We want to grab the large closed ring and we want to bring it up and over the top of our AA ring so it now sits orbiting those rings there. Okay, it's not actually going through anything, it's now orbiting our rings. And then once we've done that, we want to close up finally our anodized aluminium ring. Okay, and then what we want to do now is take up a second anodized ring and we want to put it through the 3/16 in bright aluminium so that it sits beside our first ring there. So we're just basically doubling up that anodized ring. Okay, so this is what our work currently looks like. So you can see that the anodized ring is going through the bright aluminium ring and our big ring that we pre-closed, it's just sort of orbiting around there. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to grab another anodized aluminium ring and this time we want to feed it through the 2 AA rings, or the anodized aluminium rings that are already in place. Okay, so we put one in there and then we want to double that one up and place a second ring through the same 2 rings. So we've got a chain, basically 2 pairs of anodized aluminium rings. Okay, so your work should now look something like this. Now what we want to do is we want to separate out those rings so that they sit just like we've got them here, and we need to be able to now lock these rings into place. Okay, so what we want to do here is we want our work to go through, we want our next ring to go through this big ring here in the chain, the big orbiting ring, and we also want it to go through the anodized ring. So basically we want it to go through this path here, okay, to lock it all into place. So to show you what that looks like with a jump ring, okay, we go up through the big ring in the chain, we go up through the big orbiting ring and straight through the anodized aluminium ring that's there. Okay, and we've locked that into place. So you can see it's gone through all those 3 rings, and we want to do that for basically every corner of the weave. So we want to do that 3 more times with our bright aluminium ring. So again, we're going to go through that ring on the bottom, through the orbiting ring, and through the anodized aluminium ring. Close it up. Okay, so you can see we've got now one in each corner. It doesn't matter what order you do these in, as long as you lock down all 4 corners, and not real corners because they're rings, but you know what I mean, all 4 corners here. So up through 1, up through 2, up through 3, and lock it down. And once more over here. Okay, up through 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and that's basically the steps that you need to do for the rest of the chain. Okay, so just to show you again on our next one here, so we would do all of those steps again on the next small link in our chain. So again, we would take up an anodized aluminium ring and we'll pop on that pre-closed large ring. Okay, and then we're going to take that, we're not going to close it yet, remember we've got to keep that open, and we're going to pick up the next small ring in our chain on our piece, and then before we close we're going to grab hold of that large ring, that pre-closed large ring, and we're going to bring it up just so it slips over the end of the opening here on our ring. This now becomes an orbiting ring, and we're going to close that up, and then we're going to add a second anodized aluminium ring through that same path there. This time we just need to put it straight through the bright aluminium ring, the small bright aluminium ring in the chain. Okay, put it through there and close it up. Then once you've put those 2 rings into place, you take another pair of anodized aluminium rings and feed that through, so that we've now got a chain of 2, 2 in our anodized aluminium. Okay. So we flip them down so that one of those end pair of rings is on each side of our weave. And now we want to lock all of this in place because right now it's a floppy mess. Alright, so we pick up a bright aluminium 3/16 or our small bright aluminium ring, and we lock this down by putting it through this large ring here in the chain, the large ring that's the orbiting ring, and through that anodized aluminium ring. So it just goes through that large ring in the chain, through the orbiting ring, straight up through the anodized aluminium ring. And we need to do that 3 more times on our piece just to lock down basically the corners. Okay, we want to lock it all down nice and snug so our rings don't flop around. So again, you can do this in any order, you don't have to follow the exact order that I'm doing it in, as long as you pick up 3 rings each time. The big ring that's in the chain, the orbiting ring, and the anodized aluminium ring. Okay, and we just continue to do that around until we've done it 4 times in total. Okay, and once more, making sure I pick up all 3 rings that I need to, close it up, and there you go. There's your second unit in place. So you just repeat those steps all the way down until you've got one over each of the small rings in your chain. Okay, and then just to finish it off, depending on the clasp attachment, I like to take up a small ring, as I said, about a 16 gauge 3.5 millimeters, something like that. Put that through the end large ring that you'll be left with, because like remember I said to finish and start with a large ring, and pop your clasp on. And then on the other end, you can pop on, remove your twist tie and say pop on one of the 3/16 rings. I find it helpful if this ring is slightly larger. It's easier to get the clasp through, but I like a nice snug fit down on the actual clasp end. So there you go, there's how you make our Sprite chain. And if you're interested in making the wavy Sprite chain, I will put up the top here a link to our website, to the PDF on our website, and you'll be able to buy the instructions there on how to make the wavy one. Okay guys, well that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video today and that it was of more use to you than our live version was. Don't forget though, if you did enjoy this video, give us a thumbs up here at YouTube. Drop us a comment below. We'd love to hear from you guys with any suggestions or questions that you may have. If you really enjoyed our video and you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, and make sure while you're there you click the bell so you get notifications for all our videos when we upload new content, which we do a couple of times a week. Alright, so again, I hope this was helpful to you and that we get to see you again sometime in the future.